Hello and welcome to Video Revealed. Let's have a look at creating animated callouts in Adobe Premiere Pro CC. All right, let's have a look at what we're going to create, which is these little labels popping up and animating on the screen. This is created with the Essential Graphics panel, creating Premiere Pro graphics in the latest version of Adobe Premiere Pro CC. You can't do this in CS6 because there's no animated titles in CS6. You can animate individual shapes, but this is a complete animated title that we're going to create. I also want to show you some of the preset callouts that are available, but I want to alert you to one of the problems that can occur. So let's make this. All right, so I'll make a new sequence and I'll go to my graphics workspace, and in the templates, I'll search for callout. So I'll drag this callout down to my track, and you can see it shows up on the screen, and we can move this to any position where we want, and that's very good. So if that's all you want, then you're done. That's it. There are these pre-done callouts that you can use and drag them anywhere. Now they're specifically labeled as bottom left, bottom right, and I'll show you why. If you wanted to change the position of this, so this shape is the line, and it is locked to, see, it's the bottom left pinning here. If you grab the pen tool, the bottom of this line has a point. Now, when I click on this point, three things can happen. And a common one is a bug that's in this that will delete the point and not give you an undo, and you lose everything. Yes, I've reported this to Adobe, and hopefully it'll be fixed. What's supposed to happen is you can move this around. So if I click in here and move this around, it moves. Do you see how it deleted? And it's completely gone. So it is removed out of there. That's the bug. That's one of the things that can go wrong. Another thing is it can move into the right place, and you can see even undoing doesn't bring that back. So I need to delete that and drop that in again. That's why I don't use these. And it might not. So, okay, now it's working. Because this is linked to the bottom left, I can only go so far and can't really bring this anywhere I want. So anytime you have a line, it will either delete it or move it, or more than that, more common than that is clicking on it with the pen tool will finish drawing a shape. By default, the pen tool likes to draw closed shapes. So you can't leave an open shape and then move those points around. As soon as you click, it will close that point. So if I click and drag and draw this point, and I have nothing selected, later on, if I come in and click on this point, a lot of times it will draw, and it's not doing it here, but it will draw another point around there. So it wants to close that point. So I'll show you what I do to fix this. So first of all, I'm going to type the word pineapple, and then I'll grab a rectangle and drag that rectangle below the pineapple. And I'll rename this one box. And select both of these with the arrow tool, select both, and then line these up center, center. So they're both centered. I'll click on the box and I'll pin it to the name pineapple, and I'll click in the middle. This will mean that when I create one for bananas and kale and tomatoes, the name of the word is going to make the box a little bit larger. That's a good one. All right. I'm going to pick the color we can't see the pineapple, so I'll click in the fill, and I'm just going to grab a bright orange color for that. All right, so this is just a, this is just a shape. If I move the text around, then the text will move with it. I'm going to start in the middle because I'm going to copy and paste this on each one of these. And I want a line to draw out. In my example, you saw that I had a line and I drew it out. I did not use the stroke. I didn't just draw a line. I drew a rectangle and scaled the rectangle. It will never delete and it will never screw up. This is a way to keep this so it doesn't have that problem bug. So I'll grab the rectangle, drag it out, make it white, not have a stroke on it. So although this looks quite crazy large, it is, but trust me on this. Over in my effects control panel for this shape, and let's rename this pointer. So now we have this as a pointer. Now let me find the pointer. All right, there's the pointer. I'll go to scale and turn off uniform scale, move ahead a little bit, and at 100% scale, I'll add a keyframe. I'll move over here and add this to 0. So now we've got this kind of shape. Obviously, it's way too large, but I can now drag this and make this very small. I like to do that because if you tried to drag on the ends of this and change the size, you can't do it. You can't grab those ends easily. So when it's a big, large rectangle, we can do that. Now watch, the pointer comes out. Boom. So I'm just going to rotate this around. And I'll have to move this while I'm rotating it. And I can do that. This is where I start to work with these numbers and less with moving this around. So now we're at 90%. Now I'll drag this up to here and place that. So if we look at this now, you'll see it starts from the bottom and it goes out to 100%. If 100% is too much, we just change the keyframe number. All right, so now we have the pointer, the word pineapple, and the box all together. And we'll select all of those. And I'll move this over to where the pineapple will be. And I'll copy and paste this. If you're an After Effects user, you're probably wondering why I don't use things like the anchor point. Well, what I have found is as soon as you change any of the scale properties of any of these objects, the anchor point goes absolutely crazy and is unruly, and forget about it. So, hey, try it if you want, but scale completely interrupts the anchor point. That's why I don't care about it. All right, so there's pineapple. With all of those selected, I'll copy and paste them. And I'll carefully, you got to try to find a point where you just get the arrow. And I'll move that over to here. Copy and paste that. I'm not just pasting because I want to get this into a different place and make it easier to move. All right. And then we'll make the tomatoes down here. All right, so next up, double click on this one and type bananas. You can see how the box changes. Kale. Tomatoes. Now we'll change the color of these. And for this one, we can use the color of the actual product. Maybe I'll just make this a little bit more saturated so it's easier to see. Kale, let's grab the kale color. Maybe something nice and dark. Tomatoes. We'll grab the tomato color. All right. So right now, if I play this back, you can see all of the lines just show up like that. Now we need to change each one of these in their position. So back in the effects control panel, I'll find my pointer. Okay, that's the one for the tomatoes. I'll open this up, open up transform. I'll make sure I'm on the keyframe where it's 100%, and I'll drag this back. And I'll rotate this, and you'll see that things will start going crazy. But I'm going to position this about there, maybe scooch it over. And now the tomatoes are going to point over to there. Okay, tomato is good. Let's go on to the next one. Which is that one. Okay, that's our kale. Make sure I'm at that keyframe and change the scale to about there. This one I'm just going to make straight down. That one's easier. Let's go to bananas. Where's that pointer? There's that pointer. Make sure I'm on 100%. Drag that back. Drag that over. That one can go right down. So now the bananas are pointing there. And let's go to the pineapple. Open that one up. Make sure I'm right on the keyframe. And let's take this one up to there. I'm going to rotate this one a little bit. Move it up. And maybe take this scale down. All right. Now we have our animated pointers. The only other thing I'd like to do here is maybe make each one of them show up a little different. And I did that here. I actually animated their position coming in, and then I had each one start at 0 to 100. All right. Now, what's a little bit deceiving in this is there's a lot of movement going on. There's no tracking going on because the camera is locked onto the shopping cart. And although it looks like these are kind of tracked, they're not. If we turn off the actual video, you can see there's no tracking. They all sit in the same place because they're essentially locked to the cart the same way. Let's look at manually tracking something and look at this example here, where I've got a soccer ball being kicked back and forth, and I've got a highlight showing up. So how did I do this? Well, that is the ball. So let me delete that. I'll go back to my graphics workspace. I'll grab an ellipse and I'll draw that with the shift key down and make sure I have a stroke and no fill. Maybe that's a bit large. Let's go back to 8 on there. Okay. Now this one I could, I'm holding the command key or the command key on Mac, control on Windows, and resetting that. You don't really have to, but for me, I will. I'm going to go to where the ball starts at the beginning of my timeline and drag it over to here. In the shape settings in my effects control panel, I'm going to set a keyframe for position. Now, if you come from After Effects, you're looking at this saying, that's a pretty isolated ball. Can't you automatically track it? No, there's no automatic tracking. This one we're going to have to do manually. And the results, as I showed you, look pretty good. You just have to do it manually. So I'm going to use a a scroll wheel, and you can use a trackpad to move ahead. I'm going to move ahead a little bit, and I'm going to, instead of trying to grab this on the screen, I'm just going to click and drag left. And you see I've added another keyframe, and I'm just going to keep doing this while it's there. So just before she kicks, I'm going to find its position. I'm going to move ahead a little bit more instead of doing it frame by frame. And then I'll go back and check this once it's passed to the one girl to make sure it's accurate. If it's not, I'll add some more keyframes. So now I'll go back and hit, and there it is. So you just basically keep doing the exact same thing. You're moving ahead, and now she's going to be kicking that. It's probably going to be going up a bit. Nope, it's good. So now we've got that ball being passed out. Oh, there's a bit of an error there. So I'm going to have to bring this back and down. And every time I'm moving that, as long as I have the original position keyframe, the very first one set, then it's going to track along there. If I wanted maybe some text or something to follow along, then pass the ball. I'll move it close to the ball, and I'll lock it to shape 2, and now let's watch that. So now the call out is following because I passed that to it. And now anytime I update that, so you can see that that is locked on. If I change the position of that, so if I wanted that text to be in the middle, I can still move that and it will update, and now it's in the middle. If I wanted a line on there, I could do that. If I wanted to animate the text and change that, whatever that text thing is doing, it's pinned to the ball shape and it's going to follow it along. All right, there you go. There's animated callouts right inside Adobe Premiere Pro. And you don't have to jump out and learn how to do this in After Effects. There's no tracking, but I showed you, hey, the manual tracking works pretty darn good. Oh, by the way, all of the videos in here were provided by Adobe Stock, the premier supplier of stock images, video, illustrations, motion graphics, templates, and 3D objects. Find the perfect asset for your next creative project. If you're new to Video Revealed and you found this informative, take a moment and subscribe. If you want to support us some more, you can do that through PayPal. There's a link in the description and one on the front of the page. We love our PayPal supporters. Thank you very much. Until next time, I'm Colin Smith, and it's my job to get you looking